real briefly, our website is healthfreedomforhumanity.org. If you go to healthfreedomforhumanity.org/donate, you can donate whatever you want today. The money will be split between Maine Stands Up, which is Chris's group, which is kicking ass in Maine, taking their governor to task, suing their governor for illegal emergency measures. All right, so in Health Freedom for Humanity, we're going to split the cash. So you just go to healthfreedomforhumanity.org, go to the donate button, boom, donate whatever you want. All right, now I want to tell you a little bit about Chris. I met Chris a year ago when I went to her house to film her for my film Beliefs and Stories, which is all about the emotional, spiritual issues underneath disease. And when I interviewed her, I really didn't know much about her. And I asked her one question, and Chris riffed for 45 minutes straight with no break, and that's basically what we put in the film. Like, I did not need to edit her at all. Every word was like gold. And then, after I got my interviewing done, like 45 minutes to an hour, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to be selfish here, and I'm going to ask all the questions I want to ask of her. It was like my own little Jesus Christ right there in her living room, and I took full advantage of it, and I asked her questions about what happened with my father, and she mirrored back to me the most unbelievable answers that I had never heard before in my life, and it was so healing. And if you watch the movie Beliefs and Stories, you'll experience that same kind of healing, because what she has to share is so powerful. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the great Dr. Christiane Northrup.
You can listen to it.
Right here, okay, got it. It is amazing to see all the warriors.
I got the videographer that he said
This is what you want to have happen. If you are a leader, you want to be able to just step away and have that energy continue. Like, okay, so this is happening in May now, and it's hilarious. I want to show you, this is our strategy. And by the way, thank you for these wonderful hats. One for you, Jeff, one for me. You can't do better than a hat that just spreads love, especially when Jeff is at Sprouts and stuff, telling him
Exactly.
you're breaking the law, and I'd like to tell you about this with love.
All right.
Anyhow, we were having a Maine Stands Up thing, and a guy comes up to me with a quart of his own homemade sauerkraut, and he said, I was on a mission. I'm on a mission here to get you to speak with this guy, literally named Guy, with Guy, so that you could talk maybe at the Sagadahoc Republican monthly meeting. Now, I'm willing to bet that most of you can't hear it? Okay, now you can? Okay. Speak right into it. Okay. And so he said, so I called Guy, because here's the thing, I'm no longer, I don't have a bunch of handlers. I never really did, except for Diane, who was my first nurse. And he said, well, could you speak to the Sagadahoc Republican Committee? I go, yeah. I said, do you mind if I tell them what's in the COVID shot? No. just have at it. So I'm there. It's in the middle of the woods. It's 20 degrees below, the usual. And then I'm at a local restaurant, and a woman comes up to me. Hi, I'm Helen. I'm head of the Republican Party for Kennebec County. Would you speak at our thing? And then we got this guy, Dave, from Northern Maine, Dave's paper. He's live streaming. And then I just get another call. We want you to speak at the entire state Republican, like all the big leaders of the Republican Party. Now, I want to tell you what creates power. First of all, Helen sends me a meme, and then she goes, you know what? Maine Stands Up is known for being against the vaccine mandates and the mask mandates, and people know that. I'm not sure they know you, but they know about Maine Stands Up. And I thought, success. Because at the very beginning, we knew we had to put me in a soundproof booth So that this was a movement, literally, of the people, not something I created. The Warriors of the Radical Light, clearly from being out here, is the same. I did not need to copyright the name. That name came up as you were all listening to me, starting in March of 2020, when I said, this is the biggest bunch of bullshit I have ever been around. And so something compelled me to talk to you every night. And Ron was on his way out at that time, and I'd say, I have to go up to my bathroom. Remember, I would be up in my bathroom with this little holder for my iPhone, just talking to you. And I was then, as so many of you, I was being called a white supremacist, a racist, a QAnon conspirator, but my favorite was that graph, a conspirituality on the Q slope, that somebody sent me, here's this, okay, I'm going to give you here's what I think that was. That is a couple of washed up old yoga teachers who are no longer, I don't know who it is, you probably do, who are no longer getting narcissistic supply from all of the yoginis coming in, and worshiping them. So they're not getting narcissistic supply anymore. So, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for narcissistic supply? I know. Let's attack her. Now, I did beat out Kelly Brogan. Kelly was on the slope because of questioning the germ theory of disease. Whoa. Whoa. I was much higher. I guess that I used words associated with whatever. And so I was then called a QAnon conspirator. Now I'm going to tell you, I want to educate you. There is, I called my friend James Grundvig, American Periscope Media, and James says, there's no such thing as QAnon. There's no such thing. I was told by people that I work with here in this area, you got to come out publicly against QAnon. That's what you got to do. And I'm like, wait, I've had media training. I don't come out against anything. Media training is you come out for. So, what do we remember, those of you old enough to remember? You remember Richard Nixon saying, I am not a crook. All you hear was, I'm a crook. I'm a crook. So, a media strategy to come out against something that doesn't exist makes no sense whatsoever. And that's how 2020 was. 2020 was, are you kidding me? And I got, my daughter came back from New York, and she's sort of in the narrative, I met a Russian doctor. Was helicoptered into remote places, delivered babies on kitchen tables. People in the United States worked as a scullery maid, worked her way through Columbia Medical School, and is now a psychiatrist doing remote stuff that can move out of it. Anyway, she was having diversity training at her hospital in New York when she was still there. And they wanted her to get down on her knees to ask forgiveness for whatever, and she goes, I would have not get down on one knee for KGB. I'm not doing it. KGB. Love her. So all of you have managed to stand in who you are as human beings.
Yes.
Yes. And it doesn't take a lot of us. You all know power versus force. So one person aligned with who they are is more powerful than thousands who are in what Kevin Jenkins calls the rapture of hatred. As far as I can tell, most of LA is kind of bonded in the rapture of hatred. We had a wonderful session up there a couple days ago because there are wonderful people everywhere. Here, you know, I gotta say, you've done a good job. You don't? Yeah. It feels very good to be here. They just reinstituted the mask mandate in the People's Republic of Portland, Maine. We found out that Portland, Maine, and mostly the whole coast of Maine is in the George Soros, stack of whatever cities, the sanctuary cities, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Because we're going to lay down the cable and then you're going to have the Internet of Things. So Maine is like California. It is a red state being gaslit by blue. Not that anybody cares about the political party. At this point, 40% of people identify as independent, like I don't give a damn. So, what am I going to do in Maine with the Republican Party? Here's what it is. And maybe you can do some of this here because, I understand George Carlin. I don't vote, it just encourages them. I get it. I get it. But I think for right now, this is a bridge across the river. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. But what I like is because I don't care one way or another and it's fun. So you know how Jeff says we're building the new earth? Okay, so the first thing is this. If it's not fun, if it sounds like someone is saying to you, which they said to me for years, you've got to come to our hospital. You've got to talk to these doctors. They need to hear what you have to say. That was a flat no. No, I'm never going to talk to anyone. They need to hear what you have to say. Here's how that goes. If you're in medical practice, okay. My husband thinks you're crackers, so would you please give me all the data so that I can try to convince him with triangulation. I want you to know there's not one single bit of scientific evidence, not one, that is going to convince somebody who's still in the green stuff. Not one. So don't waste your time. So,
that's right. That's what I say.
Here's the thing. I have always, and this isn't a brag, it's just how it is. I've always been about 20 years ahead of where things are going, and it's not been very comfortable. That's why Carolyn May said, my next life, I'm coming back, I'm going to smoke cigarettes and run a bakery. And at first I never knew why she said it, but now I know. Here's why. Now remember this. What you say you believe and how you live your life. The difference between those two, what you say you believe and how you live your life, is the degree to which you will get sick. Okay? So you've got to be consistent. So if you smoke cigarettes and you run a bakery and you just go along with the whole thing, there's a lot of people like that right now, and they're fine. They're fine because probably the majority of these jabs were saline. As we know now, they took the lethal ones. They've been trying to find out what the lethal dose was for humans. They sent the most lethal ones to the red states. Again, Maine and California are people who are independent thinkers being gaslit by a few psychopaths. That's pretty much it. I remember when I lost my second Instagram channel. I didn't say anything, I didn't say any names, I didn't say anything, but I'm playing the harp and I'm saying, a bunch of psychopaths are running the, boom! Second channel bites the dust. Remember Dr. Joe Yee, who's that wonderful he goes, weren't you upset when you lost your Instagram channel? No, I've had all kinds of years before they even had social media. And God is like way more powerful. You meet the right people, God's internet, you just be walking somewhere. Anyway, back to Maine. So I'm going to say to them, hey, guys, there's a tidal wave coming. And I want to show you how to get to higher ground, off the ground. You don't need to listen to me. I don't care if you do or if you don't. Then I launched into how Joshua Chamberlain won the Battle of Little Round Top, which won the Civil War for the North and got rid of slavery. And Joshua Chamberlain comes from Brunswick, which is, involved with Bowdoin College, which is now full-on communist. Like, okay, if you have any kids who want to go to college, no, it's a Ponzi scheme. College is a Ponzi scheme. I was very proud of the fact that I spent $500,000 to send my two daughters to Stanley Brown, and I've been doing damage control and average. I thought it was a good idea at the time, except that now I know how the deep state thinks, and I know how they operate. So here's how Joshua Chamberlain won the Battle of Little Round Top, and it is how we are going to win this. Actually, we already have.
Yes, we did. We already won, and we're the soldiers that are bringing the troops home.
Yeah. But anyhow, they were outnumbered 4-1, and they had run out of ammunition.
Oh boy.
So Joshua Chamberlain used a V-shape, so he said to the guys who were there, you have got to run at the enemy with full force, like hold the line and scream like banshees, fix your bayonets, and just run. And the battle cry, they were so loud and so fierce that the enemy ran, and we won the Civil War for the North. I have a really good friend who was put in federal prison for a stupid drug charge. Some lobsterman put hard drugs in the duffel bag where he was selling pot. And he ended up in federal prison for 3 years. And he's, a young, good-looking guy. And I said, how did you manage? Same thing as the Battle of Little Round Top. How did you manage to not get raped? How did that happen? An innocent guy like you from Maine, all of that. He goes, I'm in my cell, day 3. A giant black man comes into my cell, naked, with a full erection. That'll kind of test how spiritual you are, right? And he goes, I lost it. I went batshit. And so all the rest of the prisoners looked around at me and said, that is a badass nigga. So you are going to have to be, I want you to bring that same sensibility in, and I hope you do. If anyone says you need a shot, your kids need a shot, we're going to do this in school, you don't need to do any of those things. You don't need to fix your bayonet and run screaming at somebody. But you need to know that you could, right? You need to know you could. Because I will tell you, if anyone came near my children or my grandchildren, and I knew this way back, way back, when I was delivering babies, I have watched the mother bear instinct being diluted, being perverted. It's like you women, you let someone come near your kid with a needle, what happened to your instinct? In the new earth that we are creating, we will be holding the line. Now, when I walk in the airport, and I travel more than I've traveled in years, alone in the airport, I take my mask off as soon as I get off the plane. Why? Because I just want to see what it feels like to be a free-breathing human being. And I just want to see what happens. Sometimes I surround myself with avenging angels, sometimes angels with fixed bayonets, sometimes with loving angels, and you know what? Not one person, not one, has ever come up to me and said, put that in. Now, there was a sign when I got to California where I thought, well, it's LA. I'm probably gonna just have to keep the mask on until I get out of the airport. I get off the plane. The first person I see has no mask on.
All right. You created that. You created that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we need to remember that we are genetic royalty. According to Alex Collier, we have 22 strands of DNA. The, who knows, right? Extraterrestrial lizards, the off-worlders, the greys, whatever they are.
The Pleiadians.
Whatever they are. They have been making humans slaves for more
are
centuries,
helping.
and it's over. You came to be here at this turning of the ages. You came to be here for the most exciting time.
Thank you. That's right.
When you remember the excitement and don't let fear take over, please remember, fear is their food. Fear and anger and depression are what they feed off of. So when you go to Jeff and you sing and you dance and you raise a hymn and you do all of that and you make a joyful noise, they can't touch you.
That's right.
They can't touch you. And that, but here, you've got each other. It's pretty astounding what's happening down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I said to my friend Amy, you know, like some of you would write to me, when are you coming to California? You know, and I'd write when I had Instagram and when I actually would, you know, could get on, you know, Facebook. You know, when are you coming to California? And I'd always answer, never. That's never going to happen. And never say never. Okay, one of you wrote Prayer of the the Warriors of the Radical Light. And we came up with this name because anyone who said anything about Trump back in 2020, well, we had so many different belief systems within our group that people would lose it. And we had a lot of Trump derangement syndrome. And I never cared one way or another. I didn't care, but I did report that I had a couple of dreams about Trump.
Oh, wow.
I did.
What are they? What?
I'll
Tell.
never forget it. Because, you know, I didn't have Trump derangement syndrome. That itself is a mental illness.
It is.
When you think that one person is responsible for everything there, I mean, come on, people. That is just being dumb.
That's a media narrative.
But one morning, I woke up from a deep sleep, and here's the dream. I am in the Trump entourage, and he's got to go into the medical tent every 15 minutes to get his safety and blood pressure checked and make sure he's okay. And I'm asked to come along, so I'm putting on the chest lead for the EKG, and I'm doing his blood pressure. He's asking me about my work and all of that. And I wake up. I'll never forget it. I had to get in the bathtub, you know, because, you know, you got to cleanse, you know. It's 5 a.m., I'm in the bathtub. I'm staring straight ahead saying, uh-oh, this is not who they say he is. This is not who they say he is. And then, of course, I had to report it that night during the ministry that we had before, you know, before they had to cancel me on those channels. And that's when, you know, all hell broke loose. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, that. So someone said instead of radical right, you call ourselves warriors of the radical light. And that worked out really well. And then, you know, you started out here, and people, there's a big group in Australia, and it's so exciting what has happened. So exciting because you knew, and I knew, that the most radical thing you could do starting in 2020 and beyond,
We're partners in
is get
shine.
together in groups. The stuff that they did. I mean, what is the term? Social distancing?
Yeah.
No. You're distant or you're social?
Oxymoron.
No. And then washing your hands? I don't think so. I mean, you know, and a mask, great. You know, that's like good. We put up chain link fence to keep out the mosquitoes. I mean, the stuff they did was so stupid. It was so incredibly stupid. And if you could get together with just one other person, when two or more are gathered,
Yes.
this is physics. This is how it is. And so I did the most gangster thing I could do. We start eating in my house. It's a gangster planet. It just is. When you're on this planet, it's a body trip. It's not, you know, let's go to a Buddhist monastery and meditate all day. No, I've done that. I would never do that again. Don't get me started on that. Right? Really, if you're in a body, you're supposed to stay in the body. you're going to be out of the body a long time. A long time. So while you're here, you know, be in it. It's a body trip. And have fun with it. So the more fun, the more singing, the more dancing, the more all of that necessary food, the healthier you will be. The healthier you'll be. So let me read this prayer. From the depth of our heart and soul, we, the warriors of the radical light, pledge our uncompromising oath to support the spirit of truth and light, using its light and truth as our weapon to defeat the deceptive power of darkness and to restore universal order in the world. From heaven, a vision of a new earth unites us to rebuild the new world together in universal cooperation for the good of one and all, with light, love, peace, truth, and a life of freedom, prosperity, and justice for all.
We are partners in shine.
What?
We are partners in shine.
Partners in shine. I love it.
So as the wheels start to fall off the narrative,
Yay.
and they are, and they are,
Yes.
I want you to only read the YouTube, watch the YouTube stuff that doesn't scare you. If it scares you, avoid it. Okay, avoid it. Because this group, as opposed to the, you remember this group? The love and light. You cannot afford the, you can't afford whatever. Of a negative thought, you know, where everyone's telling, oh my God, you know, oh my God, you're being so negative. No! The truth has a high vibration, but each of you has to decide what works for you and what doesn't. But for all of you, every single one of you here, you have not been afraid to look at the truth. The agenda, what's been happening to humans on planet Earth, so much worse than we could ever imagine. It's so much worse. You cannot believe that hospitals are making $100,000 per person to kill people. You cannot believe that if you go into the hospital, it is the gas chamber of Nazi Germany brought into the hospitals now. I cannot believe that my fellow brother doctors and nurses would continue with this agenda. I have lost all respect for Dartmouth Medical School, Harvard Medical School, Maine Medical Center, University of Vermont College of Medicine, Tufts, American College of OBGYN. I have lost all respect for all of these institutions. I don't want to be associated with them, my brother says to me. God, you used to be so respected, and I was proud to be your brother, but now, when Biden himself has said you're killing people, can you imagine the disinformation does? And like when I first saw that, I thought this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I mean, really. But then, you gotta love it. Like, oh, good, right. A postmenopausal woman with 2 cats living with her daughter is that dangerous. Wow. You guys are really, you're really pulling at it there. Wow. But I've learned something. If you have not been canceled, if you have not been in Facebook jail, if you have not had a relative say you can't come to Christmas or whatever, you're not doing anything to help. That's right. You're not doing anything. What I want you to do here, this is important. Some of you think you know the other people. Some of you don't. Make sure that you talk to each other, that you get to know each other. It is the most important thing you can possibly do. At our main stand-up meeting, on one meeting in the middle of the winter, December 29th, 2020, we now have 22 meetings around our state. We have not only sued the governor, We have representation for the 3 doctors who are losing their licenses, but boy, have they messed with the wrong people. Dr. LunaMan, whom I used to work, he testified before Congress on the anthrax vaccine, and she proved that it was a bioweapon.
Yep.
So now they're telling her that she's giving out misinformation. Here's where they go. You gotta love it. We need to determine if you are competent to practice medicine. So for $5,200, you've got to submit yourself to a neuropsych test. Meanwhile, over in New Hampshire, they might pass a bill saying you can get ivermectin over the counter. How's that going to look to the Board of Registration in Medicine when you can get it over the counter in New Hampshire, but literally across the border, you get your medical license taken away because of it? Oh, these demons. Now, my partner, Larry Pilevsky, wonderful pediatrician, he goes, Larry is hilarious. He goes, first of all, here's what he said, all of 2021. We're all trying to convince people, sending them the literature and all that. And I just go, don't chase people into burning buildings. Right? Don't even try it. Don't even try it. This is an inside job. You won't be able to change your family's mind. And we must allow people the dignity of their own timeline, even if it means that they're going to exit stage left. We're immortal creatures. They'll get over there. You can just tell. They're going to get over there. They go, God, what was I thinking? And then they're going to look around. For some of you people who still have genetic DNA and fertility, okay, I can go down and get there. Get in there, okay? I'm starting a dating site for people with golden DNA.
Painting site?
We're going to need that. I mean, we're going to need that. And you know what's going to happen. The other ones who realize they were idiots, they're going to try to sneak in. I mean,
For sure.
you know, unvaccinated sperm is going for a very high price. You know, it's just down to blood banks and all that. It's so bad. It is so bad, and you know what? God can heal anything. God can heal. So I don't think it'll be as bad as we think. I don't know. I choose to believe that it'll be better than we think. And here's the thing. Some people will go into the Matrix. They're already there.
Yeah, no stay.
You know, the Matrix is a documentary. You know that.
Yeah.
And they're already there. In fact, somebody, Alex Collier, he said he talked to Keanu Reeves about the Matrix. And Keanu said, oh, the movies, that's just the cliff notes. It's way worse than you can imagine. So, you know, when it starts to come out, there will be people in your life you're going to have to hold their hair while they grow up. It's just that's what it's going to be. But in the meantime, plant your gardens, have fun, get together, and then if you're like me, you have to know this stuff. How many of you have been on a thing where every night you follow certain groups of people to tell you what's going on? It's like that's your career, right? Yeah. Time to go to bed, but one more. I got to do one more. Because we're the ones who know, and we're holding the frequency for the new thing. And how exciting is that? There's enough people right here, to change the entire state of California.
That's right.
That's right.
I can feel that. So when I get back to Maine, okay, here's my working thing on Maine. All right. The sun rises first over the state of Maine. It's almost a whole other time zone.
And it sets
like
here.
it gets light at 5 a.m. I'm sitting here going, all right, when's it going to get light? When's it going to happen? Okay, but in Maine is also made out of rock. And it's a lot of granite. It's also the Saudi Arabian water. We have a lot of water. But as the sun rises, and as we are holding the line in our state, what happens is carried by the energy of the sun all the way across the country to here. And when I get back home and I do my morning meditations and all of that stuff, I'm going to visualize, I'm going to see all of you, and I'm going to see the rainbow that goes from Maine all the way to here, to New Earth, and the United States. We go from there the rest of the planet. But we got a blue river planet. This is a grassroots organization. Don't wait for some frickin' senator or whatever. I mean, if someone in the political party does anything, I'll be shocked. I mean, you know, so I'm participating. I'm talking to the Republicans. I'm gonna, you know, see what happens. A lot of them have had 2 jabs and a booster. Kevin Jenkins and I thought that would be a great new drink, don't you think? Okay. I'll have 2 jabs and a booster. I think that about does it for now. Except that I gotta take you through. I want to take you through my favorite prayer that I learned from Cat Kerr. Okay, here it is. Everybody stand up. All right. Here we go. So you put your hands up in the air like this. Okay. Father, I'm bringing down grace. Bringing down grace. Fill my body with your grace. Now you can put your hands down if you want. I now unbind myself from all fear, all depression, all anger, all disappointment, all grief. Please unbind me from those things. And for extra credit, just see the violet flame of Saint Germain burning all of that out. That just comes from your feet up. Stand in the violet flame of Saint Germain. You're burning off everything that does not suit you. Okay, finally, breathe. I now bind to me. I bind to me happiness, goodness, prosperity, all of the beauty of heaven on earth. And then finally, this is my favorite. By the spiritual authority vested in me through Jesus Christ. Wherever else you want to use. I like Jesus, you can do you. Okay. By the spiritual authority vested in me through the power of Lord Jesus Christ, I now demand that the avenging angels of old that parted the Red Sea now go out from this place and take down the demonics in every politician, every doctor, every nurse, every hospital, every family member in the state of California. Heavenly hosts, go out and make them toast. Amen. Amen.
Hey folks, you can grab a seat here real quick. I just want to do a couple things.